Welcome, everybody. We're here with Lieutenant Gregory L. Peck, and we have lots of news for you, a lot to talk about. There's a few things going on that are of interest, not just of locals, but nation, perhaps beyond our national borders. With you, it's Mr. Greg. Can you give us a little bit of insight? What are we doing?
What are we doing? Um, well, we're failing miserably as a nation, and it's not necessarily the fault of the people. Um, it's more the fault of the corporations and/or individuals that are in charge that are attempting to be in control. They're the ones that are operating in an illusion because they're not really in control. They just don't really have to deal with the full impact of what they're doing because the citizens or the people are not aware of what the issues are. One thing that I will need to kind of correct is I am a retired lieutenant colonel, not just lieutenant. I said lieutenant. So, and I've spent about 30 years, more or less.
Why don't you give them the whole title?
My whole title?
Yeah. It's kind of a mouthful, but it's important, I think.
Yeah, well, see, I don't. Okay. My whole title is Reverend Sir Lord Gregory L. Peck, ARR, Lieutenant Colonel, Special Prosecutor, Senior International Investigator, and Inspector General of the Order. That would be the thumbnail version of the title. If we go into the international side, I'm also a law enforcement peace officer for the court and deputy sheriff for the court, and that would be the common law court, International Common Law Court in Brussels. We were responsible for doing the warrant, arrest warrant for the Pope and all that kind of stuff. But that gets, into things that don't really pertain to the United States at this point, but might at some point. The fact of the matter is, I kind of started into this not intentionally. I was given a choice back in 1967 or so to either the choice was to spend the rest of my natural life behind bars or go to work for powers that be. And at the time, it sounded like going to work for the powers that be would be a better choice. I'm not too sure that would be the same choice I'd make today. That started the adventure. Where we're at today is rather interesting because it's a culmination of, I guess you could say, 50 years of walking down this path. There are a lot of people that I've seen over the short period of time that I've been paying attention to the internet, and there's a lot of wannabes out there, and there's a lot of people that have some understanding of different aspects of what the problem is. We're seeing today in the news comments being made that are rather interesting to me, because the comments that are being made are talking about deep state and how these individuals are going after our president, and they're all from the deep state, and this kind of like trying to play it off as a conspiracy. But what you don't understand is that this conspiracy is about 147 years in the making. The first thing you got to understand is that how we got here. And in order to understand how we got here, you got to know how we began. We began, as most would understand, with the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence was issued freeing us from the king, but it wasn't a king of England. It was a king of the Roman Empire. Because the king of the Roman Empire was basically the king of all of the monarchs. He would dictate to the monarchs what they needed to do and not needed to do. Then the king of England kind of broke away, and they started their own thing, and that ended up having some issues. But that's kind of how you have to deal with it. You have to understand how we began. So we actually became American citizens at the start of the Declaration of Independence. That's when we established ourselves as a nation, or our forefathers established us as a nation. We're not citizens of a state. We're not citizens of California or Delaware or New York. We're citizens of a republic. And that was formed in 1787, when the Constitution was signed and put out for ratification. I believe it was ratified in 1789, if memory serves me correctly. But at any rate, it was signed 1787. And it lasted about 95 years, 97 years, something like that. You can do the math. Then the District of Columbia and the Congress of the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., enacted the 1871 Act. That was February 21st, if memory serves me correctly, 1871. And it basically said that the District of Columbia had the right to enter into contract. So at that moment, they started holding that the Constitution was now under the 1871 Act, allowing Congress and the government of Washington, D.C. to enter into contract. And that was mostly done so that they could start to take care of the debt of the Civil War, which was an illegal war. They had no authority, no jurisdiction, no reason to do that war. It was strictly for monetary gain. So everything from 1871 until today is based on a corporation, and that corporation is the United States government. There's two titles that you need to understand. The first title is the Constitution for the United States of America. That's the first Constitution. Then the 1871 Act was referred to as a Constitution, only they changed the words, and this time the Constitution was all of the words of this title were capitalized because now it's a corporation. You have to understand how the English grammar system works. Upper and lower case are nouns, all capitalized is a corporation. Anyway, and that's important for the people that know about birth certificates and driver's licenses and all that fraud. But here is the kicker. They came up with the Constitution of the United States of America. They changed the word "for" to the word "of," which now means that everything was in a corporation. So if you're really paying attention, everything from that moment in time, when they had no authority to do it, created the deep state. Because everything that was said in the Constitution of 1787 was now usurped and or bypassed by this new corporate activity. The last truly lawfully ratified amendment to the Constitution was the 13th Amendment. The 14th Amendment technically was not ratified because Congress was not in session. Congress returned to session because Abraham Lincoln issued an executive order reinstating Congress after the South had walked out. I mean, this is all history. All you have to do is go back and look at it. It's nothing I'm making up. But the cause and effect has been, for the last 147 years, round numbers, these actors have been subsequently repositioning, if you will, or redefining the republic into a corporation. And you have to stop and think about the events that took place, like the Jekyll Island report, where the bankers got together and formed the bankruptcy. And then the next step was to have a receiver for the bankruptcy, which was the banks, of course, and they formed a banking entity known as the Federal Reserve. And then they had to have a collection agency for the bankruptcy, which was the private corporation known as the Internal Revenue, or IRS.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Then they took those two entities into Congress, and they voted upon them in Congress. But if you ever were able to read a book that was written called The Law That Never Was, they go through systematically and tell you and show you how Congress was not even in session when the vote was supposed to be taken to include and or ratify and or legitimize both the IRS and the Federal Reserve, which, by the way, are both private corporations. The IRS, last time I checked, is still registered in the state of Delaware. The Federal Reserve, from everything I have come to know, is headquartered in the Netherlands. Both of these are private corporations, and their job was to be the receiver and the collector of the bankruptcy. And the bankruptcy came into full force and effect in 1933 when it was declared that we were bankrupt, and they took away the gold and silver backing the fiat system of money, which is the Federal Reserve notes. Federal Reserve notes are not money, they're debt instruments, they're banking debt instrument. It's a promissory note to pay something of value at some point in time in the future. So everybody's working hard and struggling and all that stuff to gain pieces of paper that are worthless. I don't know what that might be today. As of about 6 or 7, 8 years ago, last time I was reviewing this information, the Federal Reserve pays the Bureau of Printing and Engraving 2.3 cents per instrument.
Per sheet, right?
No, per instrument. So if you have a $1 bill or $10 bill or $20 bill or $100 bill or whatever denomination may be printed on a piece of paper, that only costs the Federal Reserve 2.3 cents. So you're struggling, busting your ass to go make a living, or for the criminals, you're robbing banks and selling drugs and all that, whatever you're doing to get worthless pieces of paper.
So that's 2.3 cents on their fake money?
Yeah, that's how much it costs. That's
On
how
their
much.
fake money.
Yeah, that's how much it costs them to print it, because all they pay for is the printing and engraving.
Which is fake money anyway.
Well, yeah, it's
No, but I'm
it's-
saying like the 2.3 cents is fake currency on fake currency, right?
well, that may be debatable because we don't know, because nobody audits the Federal Reserve.
Oh, my
So we
God.
don't know if they're actually using some other fiat money.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
You know, like, who knows? They may be using Chinese money. Now, pay attention to what I just said. Every currency in the world is fiat currency. None of it has any value. The reason the US dollar is the standard, or the primary currency, is because we were the first ones to fall victim to the banking cartels. So we got first position. But we're the only country in the world that can print money or paper at will. Everybody else has to kind of show that they have something of value to stick there.
Or kiss ass.
You know, so that's why we're the reserve note. Everything's got to be compared to the dollar. There's no worry about China overtaking us, because China is not rich. China is the biggest debtor nation on the planet. They got sucked into being hooked up in commerce when they had no idea what commerce was.
Why do they say that it's the biggest economy in the world and all that crap then?
Well, because, all right, you got how many people in China?
Billions, I think.
You got like a 2 billion
Yeah,
population.
something like that.
Well, 2 billion population, even if they're only getting 50 cents, that's a hell of a lot more than the United States at 350 million.
It's
Right?
basically what's being circulated, I guess.
Yeah, so the biggest economy in the world is because they're the highest population
Well, yeah.
in
that
the
makes
world.
sense.
Okay?
And that's considering they could only keep one of each child, right? Or something like that.
Well, no, I don't know what the
Or they keep the males only or something.
no.
Something like
They're only allowed. Is it one child or two child?
I think it's one of each or one type, and then that's it.
Well, the fun
Whatever,
part
yeah.
about that is the women there. You know, let's say they get married. This is just off page,
Yeah.
but they send their wives over here, girlfriends or whoever they are. They send them over here to have babies. Right here locally, there's a little hospice over here that they use. They come over here. They live here until they have the child, and of course then they shop and they do all that stuff. And of course, this is only the people that are supposedly have money, and they have the child. And the child's not counted in China because the child was born here. So they can have 5 kids, you know, but because none of them were born in China, China doesn't count them. So the wealthy get away with, as usual, get away with whatever they want to get away with. But back to point, we're just now finding out about how the government agencies are violating the laws, they're violating the Constitution, they do whatever they damn well please. That's because they all operate under color of law. Color of law is when something looks like a law, smells like a law, and is treated like a law, but in fact is not law. Our courts, for example, they have all kinds of rules and all kinds of statutes and all kinds of procedures, none of which are lawful. The Constitution plainly states that the common law is the only law that can be brought in a court of law. So when they bring all of these federal rules and state rules and procedural rules, that's all part of the bar. The bar is a private country club. They don't have any right whatsoever to issue a license to practice law. As a matter of fact, the bar card is not a license to practice law. It's just a membership into a private country club or into a private club. And when they pass the bar, all they've done is pass a system of education which teaches them how to go about operating and functioning under a color of law. It has no standing. you've heard maybe that judges have immunity. Judges only have immunity if they're acting according to their oath of office, and their oath of office has to be a signed oath of office declaring that they're going to support, protect, and defend the Constitution. And immediately when they sit on the bench, what they're doing is protecting and defending the statutes, the state corporations, the state of California. Who in the world is the state of California? The state of California is nobody, because in 1849, the Constitution was written for the Republic of California. In 1879, curiously, the state of California came into being. So it's a corporation. Now just ask yourself, how in the world can you be a citizen of a corporation? Can I be a citizen of McDonald's? A citizen of Sears? Stop and think about that for a minute. How does that work? But yet they have all of these laws and all of these rules. Oh, you got to have a driver's license. Really? That's against the Constitution. Now, you got to register your car. Wow, isn't that amazing? Why do you have to register your car? Well, the Department of Motor Vehicles says you have to register your car. Well, let's people think. Words mean things. Words mean things. Motor vehicle. Do you actually have a motor vehicle? Do you have any idea what a motor vehicle is? Well, let's look at the definition of motor vehicle. According to the federal government, a motor vehicle is a contraption either pushed or pulled by mechanical means engaged in what? Commerce. So when you're operating your private property automobile, transporting your private property goods down the public roads, highways, streets, are you engaged in commerce? Absolutely not. But when a police officer pulls you over and he says, "May I see the registration of your vehicle, please, and your driver's license?" Okay, now you have to show him your vehicle registration and driver's license. If you are engaged in commerce, then truly that is a privilege, because you're using the private property roads, streets, highways that belong to we the people, the public, for your private gain, and that you need to have a permission. Never mind the fact that when they reestablished the corporation, it's the King's Corporation. And you certainly know, if you've studied history of the medieval times, you had to have permission to be on the King's highways. Is it all making sense to you? You have to go back to 1666 when we were all made corporations, as we were declared lost at sea. That was thank you, King Henry. Go back to look at the 1666 Act. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but you have to understand this deep state idea that you're hearing about in the little blips and things around now in the media. Folks, that deep state has been ongoing forever.
So Vatican is given to the Vatican.
Well, you have to. Now you had to do that. Okay.
I'd throw it in there.
I mean, it goes back to Constantine.
Yeah, basically.
And if you go back to that far back, Constantine was the emperor of Rome. Rome was falling apart because you had these crazy Christians running around destroying everything. And then the more they threw them into the lion's den, getting chewed up and beat and killed and all that stuff in the Colosseum, it's the more the Christian religion grew. So King Constantine figured out that he wasn't going to be able to withstand this much longer, so he decided to become a Christian. So, being the emperor of Rome, now he's become a Christian and everything's fine, so he goes to the Pope and he tells the Pope, "Hey, listen, let's you and I work together. I'll be the emperor and you can be the co-emperor. And I'm going to build this city called Constantinople. Constantine, Pope, Constantinople. And we'll both sit there in that city and we'll rule the Roman Empire." Well, the Pope then, that Pope, he said, well, I can't really do that because I can't participate in your little adventure. So Constantine got pissed off and killed the Pope. So he went to the next guy in line and gave him the same offer. That guy said, hey, yeah, that sounds like a good idea because I just as soon not die. And he says, great, let's all go to Constantinople. But that Pope said, well, actually, I can't because I'm the Bishop of Rome. So he had to stay in the Vatican because he was the Bishop of Rome. But that didn't dissuade Constantine. He still made the Pope the vice emperor of the Roman Empire. Constantine wasn't too bright because he didn't make the Pope the man the emperor, vice emperor. He made the office of Pope the vice emperor. So when the office, when Constantine died, the Roman Empire began to be ruled under the crown of the Vatican. That's why there are 3 crowns to the Vatican. All of this is history. You can look it up. It's all there.
And this
So-
connects to the deep state. So
Well, yeah,
that's kind of why I
because-
threw it in there.
Well, yeah, because ultimately, when they went back in 1871 to create a corporation, it went back under the king. You gotta pay attention. It went back under the king, the same king that declared war on the Temple Knights. We later now call them the Knights Templar. And that was in 33, 37, whenever that was. You can look it up. When the French king was so much in debt to the Temple Knights that he owed more than the kingdom of France was worth. So he convinced the Pope that the kingdom that the Templars were heretics. So the Pope declares war on the Templars, which was kind of stupid because all of the Temple Knights were descendants and or heirs and or members of the aristocracy. So when the Pope told all of the kings and queens and stuff that they were going to come and attack the Temple Knights, of course the kings and queens and stuff notified their relatives that they were going to be under attack. So when the attack came, most of the Templars were gone. Couldn't find them. And that's because they hid. Where'd they hide? Well, that's a matter of debate and discussion. And I can tell you that part, but that doesn't get us to the core of where we are today.
Well, it kind of does because it shows you that no matter what rule there has been, there's always been free will thinkers who have been opposed to it and have congregated. So this is kind of where we're at now, where they're trying to shut us down for congregating, which is a bunch of load of crap because we the people are the ones with the power, and we always have had the power. But they keep trying to make it seem like they're the ones in control. So it kind of brings us to today's standard.
Yeah, well, this is how this works. You got to pay attention. In 1776, a bunch of guys got together and decided that they weren't going to live under the king no more. And they came up with this crazy document called the Declaration of Independence. And they declared their independence from the king. That's the first time anybody had ever done that. And they paid a hell of a price for it. If you really paid attention and you really looked into it, most of the signers of the Declaration of Independence lost everything they had, and some even lost their life and their families' lives. This wasn't just a Sunday afternoon picnic. Then you have to also understand something else that may surprise a lot of people. Every one of these founding fathers, or most of them, if not all of them, were Masons. And for those that understand Masonry, that's going to be a real surprise. Because they don't think like that these days. But they established this nation on Masonic principles. As a matter of fact, if you were to understand Masonic principles and you were to look at the map, at the overview of Washington, D.C., you see that everything in the setup and the outline of Washington D.C. is all about Masonic principles and Masonic meanings and all that stuff, and geometry, sacred geometry, all of those things. But again, you have to understand. So as it all begins to form, they established this country based on Masonic principles. And we, the people, are the ones that control government, not the other way around. We created government. We don't work for them, they work for us. We're the ones in charge. When you go into court, you're not going into court and they tell you what to do. You're the one that's establishing the jurisdiction. You tell them under what jurisdiction they're going to operate. They don't tell you, but see, you've been tricked into having a bar attorney, and he's trained to make sure you stay in color of law corporate jurisdiction. But the corporations have no jurisdiction. Any judge that violates his oath of office, and his oath of office is to uphold the Constitution of the United States, any judge that violates that Constitution is no longer a judge. He is an administrative hearings officer for the corporation, and as such is personally liable for whatever the outcome of that hearing is about. So that pretty much ends the whole argument or the whole discussion about who's running the country. Another thing, if you understand the 13th Amendment, a lawyer, an attorney, cannot hold public office. Isn't that amazing? So if an attorney can't hold public office, what are all these people doing in Congress? Everybody in Congress is an attorney. And why are they all attorneys? Because they need to have attorneys in Congress so the attorneys understand how they have to maintain the deep state, which is the corporation of the United States of America. And I got even more news for you. You want to put an end to the deep state? Real simple. Real simple. You want to put an end to all the corruption? You want to put an end to all of the manipulation that's happening? You want to get back the republic? Real simple. Let me build up to that. In the 1940s, we had the Japanese. And the reason I'm going to go back to this in here is because you've got to understand something that maybe you're not getting. There was an admiral, I believe his name was Hiroshito or something like that. It's been a while since I looked all this stuff, or since I've heard of it. But he warned the Emperor of Japan not to get in a fight with the U.S. Why? Because he said, you get in a fight with the U.S., you're going to wake up the sleeping giant. The Emperor had no idea what he was talking about. Yeah, you're crazy. And then what happened? They attacked Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor, by the way, was intentionally put in harm's way because the elitists wanted to have a world war. They wanted to force the United States into a world war so that they could collapse the economy. That's a fact. So anyway, of course, they woke up the sleeping giant. And here we are, the door needs to be shut.
Yeah, it was
The
coming
sleeping giant. Oh, another.
Gotta participate.
All right. So the sleeping giant gets awoke, and then what happens? We go into the war. Point sidebar. Going into the war. Where was the first place we engaged in the war? The Philippines. Why? Because the Philippines is a territory of the United States government. That's for all those of you out there that think you need a visa to come here from the Philippines. The Philippines is at the same standing as Puerto Rico. The United States government actually, and I'm not talking about the corporation, I'm talking about the republic, actually owns 7 or 8 provinces of the Philippines. But that's another story. We'll get to that in a minute. If you want to call up, I can give you the chapter and verse of that. Anyway, so the first place we go to war is the Philippines because we're going to kick the Japanese out of our territory. Then we go to Europe. But the point being that the Japanese woke up the sleeping giant. When was the next time that the sleeping giant got woke up? Oh, Kennedy. Kennedy won the election. And then Kennedy was assassinated. Why was Kennedy assassinated? They won't tell you this. There's a big conspiracy. Well, he was assassinated. Of course, there was only one shooter, Oswald. That's crap.
It was like
Anyway,
7.
yeah. This is like, no, it was only, there were 3, as far as I know, there were 3 shooters. There's all kinds of theories and all that stuff. But the reason that he was taken out was because he wanted to put an end to the Federal Reserve. Then we have the next time, which was Reagan. Why was Reagan set up to be taken out? Because he wanted to put an end to the Federal Reserve. Now, everybody's against Trump. Why is everybody against Trump? Because he's not a lawyer. He's not an inbred politician. Does anybody ever pay attention? Whether you're Democrat or Republican doesn't matter. Because once they get into power, they're told what to do. They got to follow the corporate bottom line. Why do you think they got to keep passing laws and they got to keep passing this law or that law that requires this fee or that fee? It's because a corporation's got to make money every year. A corporation doesn't make money in a year; they go out of business. Hello. So that's why they got to keep passing laws and regulation over regulations, and all of that is designed to take every nickel that you got in your pocket away from you. Now they're talking about undoing certain bank accounts and certain savings accounts. Why anybody even bothers with the IRS, I have no idea. Because it's all voluntary.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Taxes are voluntary, people.
Yeah,
You don't
never
have to
mind
pay
the fact. Constitution again. Pay attention. The Fifth Amendment. How do you get charged taxes? Oh, you are told that you got to file a piece of paper. You file a piece of paper. What is it? That's testifying against yourself. You're told if you don't fill out that piece of paper, you're going to go to jail. Well, sorry, I take the Fifth. The Fifth Amendment, they cannot compel you to testify against yourself. You want to charge a tax? Assess the tax. They can't do it unless you volunteer. Anyway, I'm getting off the point.
If you don't believe it, you could go on the IRS's website.
It'll tell you.
And it tells you that they kind of, I forgot how they word it, but it's like they urge you to pay the tax, but they can't force you to do it. But it's like they're kind of leaning
Just
you
like
into it.
DMV, you know, you drive because it's a privilege.
Yeah.
You know, it's a privilege.
Yeah, they don't explain to you what the privilege is, and they don't explain to you how they got to that privilege.
See, the main problem is by you accepting it as a privilege, just like the cops, just like the courts, you've given them jurisdiction. So by accepting it as a privilege and not a right, you screwed yourself.
The gentlemen here know. I was coming out of Vegas, right? I was doing 110 or 115. Anyway, I was exceeding the prescribed speed limit, and I got pulled over. Okay, fair enough. Officer comes up. May I see your papers? Okay. He's talking about the vehicle, this and that. Of course, he goes back to the car. We had a slight conversation because I don't have a driver's license. Because I'm not a driver. I'm an operator of an automobile. Anyway, he goes back to the patrol car and pretty sure that I was going to get a ticket and all that kind of stuff, although it would be kind of rare. he comes back to the car and hands me back my stuff. Said, "There you are, sir. So, apologize for the delay and all that stuff." And I looked at him and said, "What? No ticket?" He says, "No. On the computer it says do not detain." Now I've been told it says do not engage. Anyway, the point being, you do not have to have anything from the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's against the Constitution. You have the right to travel, and you have the right to be secure in your property, private property automobile, and the property you have within your private property automobile. They cannot ask you for anything. You can roll up the window when the cop pulls you over. You can roll up the window. Never mind the fact, again, the city is a corporation. The city, the county, the state, they're all corporations. So a police officer is appointed by a mayor. Am I right? So you have the office of the police commissioner or police chief of police, whoever they are, depending on the size of the city. They're appointed by the mayor. Who's the mayor? The mayor is the CEO of a corporation. So what does the CEO of a corporation and or its private security force got to do with we the people? They have no lawful standing to even pull you over in the first place. They're just private security guards to protect and defend the corporation, not the people. The only alleged law enforcement that even comes close to being constitutional would be the sheriff. Why? Because the sheriff is voted upon by the people. But then immediately he becomes an employee of a corporate county, Corporation of Los Angeles County. Now let's talk about property taxes. How does that work? Oh, that goes back to the king again. Because the king collects taxes on his property. You don't own property. The king owns it. That's why you have to pay taxes. In 8 states in this republic have ruled that property taxes are unconstitutional. Wake up, people. You go out and you supposedly buy a house. And then you're told you have to pay property taxes. And if you don't pay the property taxes, this corporation that had nothing to do with you buying the place, had nothing to do with paying the payments, comes and takes your property away from you. How do they do that? Oh, because they're the corporation. But you're brain dead and asleep because you went to school in government-controlled schools and they brainwashed you into thinking that you had to do all these things because that's just what you do. So you've been taught to be slaves and to be indentured servants to a corporation. Wake up. They've got no jurisdiction to charge you property taxes. They got nothing to do with the property. Don't believe me? Go look it up. You can't be, your property can't be taken away from you. You have Constitution again. You have the right to property. You have the right to own property. You have the right to life, liberty, and property. Many years ago, I had a case brought to me. A gentleman was in the state of Utah. He was charged with polygamy. Okay? He supposedly had 5 wives. When I first heard about it, I thought, this guy's a pervert. I don't want nothing to do with it. They said, no, please just look at it and make a decision. Okay, fine. So I went and interviewed the guy. Of course, they had to, I didn't do that out of my own kindness of my heart. I said, okay, you want me to talk to you? Send me a ticket. So they sent me a ticket. So I went up there and I talked to the guy. I said, well, I'm not going to do anything for you until I go meet the family. Because I figured I was going to uncover this guy as nothing but a pervert. I got to tell you, that was probably the most loving group of people I've ever seen in my life, to this day. So I went back and told the guy I would help him, I would defend him. He just needed to sign a power of attorney. So he signed a power of attorney. Then I argued with the judge because I wasn't a lawyer. But we got that straightened out. He had to allow me to defend the gentleman. And then as soon as we got that worked out, I handed the judge a summons summoning all of the people in the state of Utah that had ever been married in the state of Utah that were still alive for the last 100 years. And of course, the judge objected to that. He says, why would I be bringing forward all the people that have been married in the state of Utah for the last 100 years? I said, because I need them to be the defense, part of the defense for my client. And he says, well, I was married in the state of Utah, been married for 25 years. So how does that defend your client? I said, okay, did you get a license from the state of Utah to be married? He said, of course I did it. We did it all legally. And I said, okay, is the state of Utah a legal entity? He said, yes, of course it is. I said, so you entered into a 3-party contract, marriage contract, polygamy, 3-party marriage contract. The state giving permission by license, which means that if you didn't have a license, it would be illegal. So the state owned the position in the marriage. Then the male and the female, the bull and the cow, now we're into animal husbandry. So you had a 3-party marriage, by definition, polygamy. So you committed the same thing you're charging him with. So you should be sitting in jail as well. Case dismissed. You see, people? This is a corporation. Every state has been turned into a corporation. The Republic. Look at the flag of California. California Republic. Really? Then who in the hell is a state? And then we do get charged with a crime. The people versus what people? What citizens of the state corporation of California? Where are the citizens? Go into court with that one day. Summons the people. In court, you have the right to cross-examine your accuser. They say the people versus Ed or Bill or Fred. Okay, Bill, Ed, or Fred. Summons the people. Who are those? How about this? Running a stop sign. Summons a stop sign. Running a red light. Summons a red light.
Didn't you do that? You summoned the
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. that was well, the red light's the accuser, right? And then who did you damage? There isn't a crime unless you damage somebody. Did I damage the light? Did I damage the stop sign? How can you damage somebody? I got you guys know this one too. I got pulled over. I was doing it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Somebody stays up there. I'm like 2 o'clock in the morning or something. I'm doing like 85 down a side street. It's like, and I see the cop turn the corner and come running after me. I said, okay, fine. I pull over and I wait for them. They come out. There's 2 of them. One stands on the curb on the sidewalk with his gun drawn. The other one comes around the corner. All the paperwork and all this stuff. I said, okay, fine. I hand him the registration. And they're like 40 minutes. We're sitting there. He comes back and he says, Mr. Peck, he says, I need you to step out of the car. He says, you're not under arrest. I need you to step out of the car. Do you understand, sir? You're not under arrest. I said, that's fine. I said, step away from the car. He says, why? I said, because I know if I open this car door and I hit you, you're going to charge me with assault. So you step back away from the car and I'll get out of the car. And you got to be paying attention to these guys because they will do that. Oh, you hit me with the door.
Yeah, they're trying to catch you slipping.
Okay, so they get me out of the car and he says, the reason we have to get you out of the car is we got to check you for weapons. Okay, fine. So they patted me down to check me for weapons. Meanwhile, the other officer was holding a gun on the situation. He comes around, he's leaning on the hood of the car and he says, what are you doing here? Why are you back? I said, well, I came back. It was time to come back. It was 2013. And anyway, got all done checking me out, patting me down, all that stuff. And the officer's standing right, he was the deputy sheriff. He's standing right next to me. I said, you done? He said, yeah. I said, and you didn't find any weapons? He says, no. I said, you missed one. He said, I missed one. He kind of stood up a little bit. I said, yeah, me. I said, I'm a trained intelligence operative, special forces. I take hold of you, break your neck, and shoot him all before either one of you move. You should, in your training, you're not supposed to get that close to somebody without having backup. He put his weapon away, he's leaning on the hood. You guys need to go back to training. Anyway, no ticket. The funniest part was when he said, "Why are you going so fast?" I said, "Because I'm in a hurry." "What are you in a hurry for?" "Because I want to go home and go to bed."
It's 2 in the morning.
It's 2 in the morning. What did I mean, what am I? You see, you got to understand, if the corporate entity has no jurisdiction, then what the hell? Who cares what speed you're going? Now, it's true that you do not have the right to interfere with other people's safety. So if everybody's on the freeway doing 10 miles an hour, you're probably not going to be able to do 90 because you're probably going to hurt somebody. That's a problem. You have the freedom to do everything and anything you want to do as long as you don't infringe on somebody else's freedom.
Common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
common law.
common sense
It's common
isn't
law.
very common because most people don't have it. They've been indoctrinated out of common sense. They don't stop and think. They do not have the right to stop you. They do not have. Not only that, but they tell you that you can't file a criminal complaint. That's a lie. You don't need a district of attorney. Any citizen of the republic can file a criminal complaint. You can make a citizen's arrest. You can call up the sheriffs and say, "I want the neighbor next door or the neighbor across the street arrested because he keeps peeing on my bushes." And if you demand, even if the sheriff says, "Well, I don't want to arrest him for that, I'll just talk." No, I want him arrested. They have to arrest the guy because that's a citizen's arrest. Well, guess what, folks? If you can arrest somebody, you certainly can charge them criminally. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need a district attorney. You don't need anybody from the corporation. We have the Constitution and common law on our side. Somebody infringes on your rights, you have the right to prosecute it. My God, go back to school and learn what the Constitution is. The reason that I know this stuff is because I took an oath in 1968 to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States of America and against all enemies, foreign or domestic. Then they send me out of the country to go clean up everybody else's mess. Well, now I'm retired, and I'm back. And what a mess this place is in. Now, if you're paying attention, I filed lawsuits for the against the what is that one? The house one.
United Title, which is also Seattle Mortgage.
You can
Company,
look it up.
Novad and
HUD. Yeah.
And then
HUD, there's a real joke. HUD, the Housing and Urban Development. What does that say?
something like that.
Yeah, they're guaranteeing loans. They're guaranteeing reverse mortgages. Really? How are they guaranteeing anything? They're $850 billion. That's with a B, folks. $1 billion in debt. So how the hell are they going to guarantee anything? Oh, excuse me. I understand. That's part of the $20 trillion the corporation's in debt. And who gets to get stuck with that bill? Oh, we the people? How in the hell did we end up getting stuck with the corporation's bill? That's up to the corporation to pay that. I never allowed them to sign my name or charge. They're borrowing money in my name? Really? How about, you want to talk about identity theft? Oh, how can they do that? Well, because they created a commercial document called a birth certificate. Those of you that understand birth certificates will understand what I'm talking about. So then they borrow all kinds of money in your name and expect you to pay it back, even though when you didn't authorize it in the first place. Why didn't you authorize it? Because you never signed into the contract in the first place. It's called an adhesion contract. They signed you up for it. You didn't agree. And because you're too stupid to understand what they did, you're the ones going to get stuck with the bill. You know why they have to pass an omnibus budget every time they turn around? It's called check kiting. It's against the law if you and I do it. If I know I'm going to get paid on a Friday and it's Tuesday and I don't have enough money to get to Friday, it's real simple. I go write a check for, let's say, groceries. And I write a check for $110. And so to get my groceries. Well, the next day I got to write a check for $120. Why? To cover the first check. Then the next day I got to write a check for $130. It's called check kiting. It's a felony. But the government gets to get away with it because you're not smart enough to understand they're committing a felony. And they're doing it in your name, which is identity theft. And how are they hacking your identity? Because you tell them everything. They give you Social Security. When did you get your Social Security number? Oh, when you started work. You started work at 15. You signed a contract getting a Social Security number.
Very
Were
good
you
slaves.
Yeah, that's the number for the slave. Do you have to have a Social Security? Oh yeah, because the corporation requires you to have one. And then the reason that they have to pay Social Security is because that's the interest on the money they're borrowing in your name. And they're not even giving you a decent interest rate. That's why they have to have that debt owed to you, because that's how they massage the Social Security thing to make you think you're getting something for the massive debt they're charging.
The funny thing is, if you go to today's age, you know, the same corporations are the ones that are selling our identities because we're voluntarily giving up our rights on social media, posting selfies, posting our fucking life, our baby pictures, everything about us is on the internet, and we're voluntarily giving up our information, and they're selling it. So it's even more ridiculous.
Well, you know, it maybe I'm just too too smart.
No such thing.
No such thing. Nobody could be too smart. But it's just common sense, folks. Somebody someplace has got to start asking questions. Okay, where did they get the right? When did this all happen that they got the right to take everything that you have? How can they do that? If they can really do that, then who gives a damn about the Constitution? And for all of you military types out there that have served your country, I'm proud of you. But you're stupid. Because you should have thought about this a little bit. I did. I stopped doing some of the things they were requiring me to do. And those of you out there know and understand, look at my face, you know and understand what I'm talking about. Because originally I thought I was serving God and country. It didn't take me very long to figure out God had nothing to do with it. Then the big revelation, the country had nothing to do with it. The republic had nothing to do with it. It was all the deep state deciding what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go and what they wanted to gain from it. Now, it's true that there are a lot of bad guys out there, and it's true that those bad guys had to be taken care of. But I stopped just following blindly and started requiring justification for taking care of the bad guys. And there is, no doubt, justification for taking care of bad guys. But if you really want to start taking care of the bad guys, how about you turn around and look in the mirror? In your rear view mirror, I should say. Because the real bad guys are the ones that are promoting the deep state. We currently have a lawsuit, and I hope somebody refers to Mr. Mueller. Have him look at me, right in the eye. You're nothing but a treasonous, rotten individual. You have no credibility. You have no honor. You are a piece of trash, Mr. Mueller. And you deserve to be charged with treason, which is exactly what I've done. I filed a case against you, Rosenstein, and Comey. And we will file a grand jury. We will establish a grand jury, and we will put the evidence before the grand jury and hope to get an indictment. And I can do that because I am a special prosecutor as assigned in 2004. And it is documented and registered in federal court if you want to look it up.
Oh, it's on the screen. We have it right there, just in case they doubt. It's up on the screen.
Yeah, you
Okay.
should see the links. I've sent links, so you should be able to get those. There's two
Yes.
lawsuits. One of them is it's called treason against we the people. Hold them accountable. Change.org. You can look that up. The other one is erase the world's debt. And you guys got to look at these because they're huge. A lot of people aren't paying attention to this. It's not so much about the petition itself; it's more about the lawsuit. The only reason we made the petitions is because it kind of gets the word out more. If you guys have any ideas how to spread the word, please do so. The links are there. Erase the world's debt. Change.org. Treason against we the people. Hold them accountable. Look up those two. They're under Peter Simon, and there's another one coming. So stay tuned.
If you pay attention, the treason one. Treason is when you give aid and comfort to the enemy. We know about the fake dossier. Everybody knows about the fake dossier. They used a foreign intelligence officer to promote Russian propaganda against the candidate running for president. Then, still trying to push the envelope of Russian collusion, even though there is no such thing as Russian collusion on the Trump side of the equation. If you want to talk about Russian collusion, how about the FBI? How about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton? There's the Russian collusion and the Democratic Party. Are these liberals that are running around out there? They're all brain dead. Not one of them. Not one of them. I'd be surprised if they could spell their own name and chew gum at the same time. Because obviously they got two brain cells to rub together. You ask them anything of any depth, any question of any intelligence, and they stumble around on their own spit. It is the responsibility of we the people to take care of our country. If we don't take care of it, nobody else will. Now, I'm just one guy, and I'm taking on any and all comers. You want to defy and trash the Constitution, you got to get through me to do it. Because that's what I've spent the last 50 years of my life doing. And I don't care who you are. One last note: for those of you that think of Barack Obama as some kind of a really good guy, I'm going to tell you this and pay real close attention. Barack Obama, if he was born in Hawaii, he's greater than Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ was born without a father. He did have a mother. If Barack Obama was born in Hawaii, then he was born without a mother. The last time I checked, mothers and babies have to be pretty close to one another when they're born. And the reason I say that, remember, I'm an intelligence officer. U.S. immigration, British immigration, and Kenya immigration, all three have record of Barack Obama's mother in Kenya at the time of his birth. So if she's in Kenya when he's supposed to have been born in Hawaii, she must have had one very long umbilical cord.
A huge vagina.
Yeah. And she must have been able to spit him out and send him clear across the ocean. You know, talk about a surface to air missile. So I don't give a damn about all the documents that he said he was born in Hawaii. Then I defy anybody to go to Indonesia, where he supposedly grew up. Because in Indonesia, Indonesia is 100% Islamic. 100% Islamic. As a boy, he had to memorize the Quran, can of soup, I don't give a shit. I'm sorry, that's not politically correct. He had to memorize the Quran by the time he was 6 or 7 years old. So I'll leave that up to your imagination as to what his mindset is. Might be a reason why he bowed to a king.
Not just
I
that,
don't-
but the whole thing about Osama bin Laden's body, how they had to do a ceremony and they sent him off to sea. And he did it the same way a Muslim would treat another Muslim brother, out of respect for his death. So how do you explain that?
Well, I'm not against somebody you believe.
Of course.
You have the right to be as wrong as you want to be. You can believe in anything you want.
But the fact that he lied,
Well, think about some things about. First of all, he's an attorney, so you know he's going to lie. Short definition of an attorney: a liar and a thief. They don't care what the truth is. They will do whatever it takes to win a case. You take somebody that's a criminal. They gets an attorney. What's the attorney supposed to do? The attorney is supposed to figure out a way to get this criminal out of whatever the crime is that he committed. That means lying, stealing, falsifying information, whatever it takes that he can get away with. Are they going to tell the truth? No. Let's say that the attorney knows for a fact that the guy did commit the crime. He's still going to do everything he can to get him off and to have him declared innocent. Would that be something that somebody was interested in telling the truth about? Obviously not. Judges are supposed to. This last case that I just did, it's going to be published probably tomorrow, which is the recusal of the federal judge. All judges have to sign an oath of office, and in that oath of office, they declare that they're going to protect, defend, and uphold the Constitution of the United States. And the very minute they put the robe on and sit on the bench, what do? They are defending and promoting the color of law, corporation state, or in this case, federal government, under color of law, which is in violation of their oath of office. Which means that at that point in time, they're no longer a judge, they're an administrative hearings officer for a corporation, thereby losing their judicial immunity. The very next thing that anybody's watching this ought to do is you ought to go out and pick up a book to learn what the Constitution says. Because all of you think that this government is being run by the Constitution, and we're safe because we're under the Constitution. You don't understand. You gave up your rights a long time ago because you signed into all of this stuff.
And everything we do, getting pulled over, the DMV, paying taxes, it's all enveloped in everything. And we don't realize we're giving up our rights.
You don't. It's called. A lot of these things are called an adhesion contract. Contract law, in order for it to be legitimate, you have to know the terms and conditions of the contract. If at any point in time in that contract, something is going on in that contract that you don't know about, that they're hiding from you, that contract is null and void. Right? Talk to anybody that knows anything about contract law. So if you're not being told that when you sign up for DMV, you're giving away your rights and it's a privilege, and you're not told that, then obviously the contract's null and void. You know how it's supposed to work in a republic? Let's say that the republic comes in here and going to vote for something, and I vote no. That's my vote. That means that I don't participate. So they say we're gonna pass a spending measure to repair the roads, and it's going to cost taxpayers money. And I say no, I'm not going to participate. They can't ask me for money. They can't charge me money. They can't take the money because I said no. That's a republic. Demonocracy, and I'll explain that in a minute. Demonocracy is mob rule plus one. And what happens there? Even if I disagree, if the majority agrees, I'm forced into compliance against my will. How is that freedom? How is that a republic? How can you be free if you're being forced against your will to participate? I don't believe in abortions. So why should any funds that I may donate be then turned around and support what is that? What's the word I'm looking for?
HUD?
Murder. I was thinking of Holocaust or something.
Yeah.
Just murder.
Genocide.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Genocide. You don't want to have babies? Guess what? Take a pill. Close your legs. Works that way. A woman is responsible for her, in charge of her body. Fine, be in charge of your body. You don't want a baby? Don't create one. Simple. I don't want to get too far into that because all you women will go, oh, he's chauvinist.
Well, that's not to say, if a woman gets raped. My thing has always been is I would say don't fund Planned Parenthood for abortions unless they could verify that the woman was raped. There's ways to prove that. I know it's embarrassing for the woman, but if she was raped, then they should assist. I agree with that. That would be a way to deal with it.
Well, one of the ways that they can stop abortion is make them pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. Because
you want an abortion, you created this problem, you pay for it.
Yeah, because see, if you do that, then all the people who take a risk and say they're going to screw some guy and say, oh, it's cool, I'll get an abortion, aren't going to take that risk anymore. And the guy's not going to urge them to do it and say, just have an abortion, it's okay. Because then now they have to pay for it.
Well, the other thing about Planned Parenthood, you brought that up. The other thing about Planned Parenthood is really stupid. When I was going to high school, the African American, being politically correct, population per capita was around 12.8%. 12.8%. In 2015, they had the census done, and the African American population in the United States was 12.6%. How is it that the black African American population in the United States went from 12% in the 60s to 2015, 12.6%? Maybe it has to do with something like 39 million babies being aborted. And where are those abortions taking place? In the ghetto. Where's Planned Parenthood? In the ghetto. Who do you think they're committing genocide against? Hello? Really? Wake up and smell the coffee. And you're going to try and tell me Black Lives Matter when you're committing genocide on yourselves?
You want some interesting statistics? I'm over here because I'm charging the phone. But anyway, look up the website. It's called numberofabortions.com. And it has an interesting list of different statistics. If you look at it, it says worldwide since 1980, 1,496,505,686. Then it says black babies since 1973 that have been aborted, 18,135,647. By Planned Parenthood this year, 143,741. By Planned Parenthood since 1970, 8,119,985. In the U.S. since 73, Roe versus Wade, 60,452,157. And that's just some of the statistics. So you look at this, this is genocide.
No kidding.
This is genocide.
Go and look up Planned Parenthood. See if you can find one in Beverly Hills. See if you can find an office of Planned Parenthood in Beverly Hills. Just a guess. Probably not. Or Malibu. Or Westwood.
Yeah.
See if you can find an office of Planned Parenthood there. I'll bet you find an office of Planned Parenthood in Compton. I'll bet you find one in Detroit.
Sherman Way and Reseda.
Don't you people get it? Thomas Jefferson said, when he asked, how long is this republic going to stand? He says, as long as you fight for it. We're losing the republic. And the reason we're losing the republic is because nobody's paying attention. Now, I know I've been kind of like on a rant, and you might think I'm just an angry white guy. I'm going to tell you something. I've been in many engagements. And those of you that are out there that understand what I'm going to say. I've held my brothers in the minute of their passing as they gave the greatest sacrifice they could on the field of honor. It didn't matter if they were black, white, Hispanic, Asian. It didn't matter. The only thing that mattered, the only color that mattered, was that fluid running down my boot, the blood they shed to protect the Constitution of this country. How do you think I feel having my brothers spend their greatest sacrifice, come back here and find out that that which they shed their blood to protect is being trashed every minute of every day by every law enforcement officer, every federal officer, and every politician in this country, knowing damn good and well that they are disobeying the Constitution, committing treason against the Constitution, warring against the Constitution. Those of you that are in uniform, you swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Let me say that again. You took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution for the United States of America. 1787. You are not supposed to be defending the corporations that have taken over this country. There is no secret who the deep state is. The deep state are the corporations that are stealing our liberty minute by minute. Everyone that's carrying a badge, everyone that's carrying a gun, everyone that's in a uniform, you are violating the Constitution of the United States of America. You are violating your oath of office. Those of you that took an oath of office, which all of you should have. It is time to stand up and say enough. This is a republic. It is not a demonocracy. Why do I call democracy demonocracy? Because the root word for democracy is demon, demos. So democracy is what you've allowed to happen. This is not a democracy. This is a republic. Why do you think they don't want people, children, learning the Pledge of Allegiance? Because they're pledging allegiance to a flag of a republic for which it stands one nation under who? God. When was the last time you saw God being honored in this country? You want to put an end to all of this nonsense? Real simple. Real simple. All it would take is 1 week. For those of you out there that may be listening to this is how you fix it. Collectively, we the people, pick a date. Pick a date, any date. Say Labor Day. One week. 1 week. everybody stay home. That's all it takes. No bullets, no guns, no rioting, no marching, no signs. The silent majority that got up and voted in a man that's not a lawyer, that's trying to fix this country. Not that I agree with Trump and everything, but I do applaud the fact that he's trying to make some change. So you want to fix it? Everybody. Silent majority, the sleeping giant. Stay home for a week. Don't buy, don't sell, don't make a phone call. Everybody just check out for a week. And I guarantee you the corporation would collapse because they can't stand 5 minutes without your participation. Remember when the alleged 9/11 thing happened and the entire country went, what happened? Within a matter of hours, you had presidents, you had actors, you had congressmen. They were all on the media telling everybody, it's okay, everybody go back to work. Everybody go out to buying, back to buying and selling. Go back to your normal lives. Why? Because they couldn't withstand the population just stopping. Silent protest. Those of you that may have some understanding of history, I'll give you an example, 2 examples. There was a gentleman by the name of Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi was a kind of an interesting guy, kind of an older guy, as I recall. And he stood up to the greatest power the world had ever known, which was the British colonial government. Because the British were colonizing everything on the planet. They were everywhere. They were everywhere. They were colonizing every place. Africa, India. What did he do? He didn't go out and raise a bunch of people and go out on a march. He didn't go out and get a gun and start shooting people. He didn't go up and do any kind of violence whatsoever. All he did was get in his little cross-legged stand there and sit and meditate and say, no, I'm not going to participate. That's all he did, was say no. And he brought down the British Empire all by himself, just saying no. And look at Mandela. Look what he did. They threw him in jail. I think he was in jail for 20 years, 25 years, whatever it was. All he did was say no. Now, what happens if the silent majority, what happens if we stand up and say, you know what? We're done. We're done, son. You contact the congressman in D.C. Ask them if they're not attorneys. What you don't know, I'm going to tell you. If you elect somebody to Congress, before they take their seat in Congress, they go to school for like 2 weeks. Why? Because they get told what they're going to do and what they can't do. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever if they're Republican or Democrat or it's all an illusion because they got to follow the corporate line. They don't give a damn what you think because they've got to do what the corporation says. With the exception of Trump, I can guarantee you that any president that's been elected, they knew who the president was going to be within 6 months before the election. Why did they know? Because they had to make certain security changes for the incoming administration. One of those was Air Force One. Air Force One gets refitted for the new president. And they have to have that functioning by the time the inauguration happens. So you think you're voting for somebody? You're not voting for nobody. They know full well in advance. Why do you think they were so shocked when Hillary didn't win? Because everybody in the deep state knew Hillary was going to win. It had already been decided by deep state. The only problem is they didn't figure out that the American people didn't want it. You want to stop all this nonsense? Stay home for a week. Kids don't go to school. You don't go to work. It's easy to do. You can certainly stockpile enough food to last for a week. Don't start your car. Don't leave the driveway. Just stay home. Spend a week with your family.
Don't watch TV.
Yeah, turn off the television. And these buffoons they have on late night comedy shows, when was the last time any of them had an independent thought? It doesn't matter who you turn on late night TV. They all promote and talk about the same damn thing. It's all scripted, folks. You're being sold a line, lock, stock, and barrel. And the real fun part about it is, all of you are too damn stupid to pay attention. Yeah, I just said that. You're too damn stupid. Wake up and smell the coffee. Here's the deal. Stay home for a week. That's the deal. Stay home with your families. Learn what your children's names are. Learn what your children are about, who they're seeing. Maybe sit down and read a book together. Wow, wouldn't that be something? What happens if nobody shows up for work? What happens if nobody shows up at the bank? What happens if nobody shows up at the grocery store? What happens if nobody shows up to vote? That would be real fun. This upcoming election that's coming up, the November election, what happens if nobody shows up to vote? But that doesn't really matter that much because over the last 50 years, there's only been about 22-23% of the voting public actually show up to vote. The rest have all stayed home. That's called the silent majority. They didn't stay home this last time. Second thing to fix the problem, term limits for Congress. If the President of the United States has term limits, why do Congresspersons, men and women, get to stay there for a lifetime on the dole? Talk about breeding corruption. How about term limits for Congress? 2 terms. That's it. Done. Well, actually, because they stay in office for 6 years. Is it 6 years? I think they stay in office 6 years.
The interesting thing is, if you go, let's say you go to the hospital, you stay there for a couple of days. Every hour they change your nurse or your doctor to get a different opinion. Why can't they do that for Congress? Why do they have the same old hags, decrepit fools who don't even care, like you said, about the Constitution or this country? They want it to go under, and a lot of them are even senile, can't even have speech impediments. They're just falling apart. They're decrepit. We need something refreshing. We need a difference of opinion. Term limits will be the way to go. If we do it in our hospitals, why can't we do it in Congress? And it's not just our hospitals. You go anywhere, you get a construction job done, you get differences. You get different opinions. You talk to lawyers, you get different opinions. You always get different opinions. Why doesn't it work for our politics, for our Congress?
Because the corporation needs to have control. And the only way they can control it is by making sure the same people stay in office. That's how come, we're having this debate, and it's this Republican this and Democrat that, and we struggled, and it's a partisan or nonpartisan. It's all crap. You want to fix it? After staying home for a week, then anybody that's in office, vote them out of office. We have control. We're the sovereign people. Don't send anybody back that's already been there. Better to have somebody that doesn't know anything than somebody who's controlled and does anything that they're told. Hello. So, term limits. No more than 2 turns at the wheel. Just think, Maxine Waters wouldn't be the multi-millionaire if she'd only been in Congress for 12 years.
That's the one that needs to go away. That lady.
Yeah, it amazes me. How could she have her condition? Her area there that she's supposed to be? She doesn't even live in the area she's supposed to be. You know, really?
Well, a $5 million home.
Yeah, and you people that voted for her, you don't think there's a problem there? I know I'm getting off on a couple of tangents.
Well, you
But-
might,
No, I
as well
think
throw you might as well throw Nancy Pelosi in there.
Well,
I mean,
but
yeah.
Nancy Pelosi, she's
Elizabeth Warren, all those people.
I mean, you hear some of these people, and whenever they talk on news or whatever, they're very limited in the grammar. I mean, I just turn the TV off.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Pelosi, when Pelosi tries to make a point, you think, my God, this woman can't even complete a sentence.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean,
I know.
it's
Speech
ridiculous.
impediments,
How do you?
senility.
And I don't want anybody to think I'm just picking on females because I'm not. I mean, look at. Oh, I don't know if I should get. Anyway, you know, not to belabor the point, but we need to take charge. We need to take this country back, and the only way we're going to take it back is to stop. Stop them in their tracks. You don't show up for a week, America. They're done. You vote anybody that's in office out of office.
Need to give a little meaning to the week.
Yeah, we forget.
Okay? You make sure that anybody that doesn't make somebody says, I promise to do this, 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 and such. Then they get in office. Another little trick is anybody that's in that district can file an impeachment complaint. So you voted somebody in office and they made all kinds of promises. And then they didn't live up to those promises. Guess what? You don't have to wait on Congress. You don't have to wait on a district attorney. You can go down to federal court and file an impeachment case against the representative for violation of their campaign promises. Can't be done for Trump because he's keeping every one of his campaign promises. But nobody wants to talk about that. I personally have some issues with Trump. But he's doing a good job. Got to give him credit for that. So, I could mention particular individuals that are in Congress and have no business being there. And I could say something about a fellow soldier that was a prisoner of war that is, in my opinion, a disgrace to the uniform for what he's become. I won't say anything more than that because he's ill and Godspeed. Last thing, again, those that are wearing a uniform, hope pick up a Constitution, read it, understand what you swore to protect and defend, and then turn around and look and see what's actually happening. Who are you really protecting, and who are you really defending? It is not we the people. Uniform Code of Military Justice says that in all engagements, innocence must be protected. That would also include ignorance. Most people in this country are ignorant of what's really going on, but you in uniform have a responsibility to not be ignorant. You took an oath. And I understand taking that oath might mean all you get at the end of the day is a folded flag. But there have been many men that have shed their most precious gift. The field of honor is drenched in the blood of patriots. It's about time that maybe you guys pick up the Constitution and understand what you swore to protect and defend. You should be ashamed that here I am, my age, taking this stand when all of you should be taking this stand. One of the things that The Hague taught us after the Second World War, we don't have the excuse to follow an order that is unlawful. That doesn't get us off the hook. We're still responsible. Why? Because we are still required to do what is the right thing, regardless of the order given. They're attempting to commit a coup against the sitting elected president. And who stood up anywhere to stand against this deep state? U.S. Marshals are sworn to protect and defend the Constitution. You have an FBI director that has been named special prosecutor that is committing an act of treason. Where are you, U.S. Marshals? You're the highest law enforcement in the nation. That man should be picked up along with Rosenstein and Comey and put in jail because he's committing treason against the United States. Aiding and abetting a foreign adversary. And where are you? You're watching a crime being committed right in front of you. You got a badge and a gun that says you're the highest law enforcement in the nation. And what are you doing? Nothing. So what good are you? Nothing. Anyway, it's just amazing to me. Everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants to talk about freedom. Turn around and look. What are you free of? You're being raped, pillaged, and plundered because you allowed it. And those of you that took an oath to defend the Constitution, you don't even know what it is you're supposed to be defending. Another reason that I have the feelings that I do and the loyalty to the Constitution I do, my father was a DI in the Marine Corps, W-2, and he went in with his last group of boys into the hellhole. First engagement, Philippines. That's where he went. So I was trained well from birth to 11 years old. That wasn't, he didn't die. that's when he left. Then my first stepfather was a deputy sheriff right here in Los Angeles County. In 1966, he came home madder than hell from a mandatory training weekend. The reason he came back madder than hell is because in that training weekend, he was informed by the sheriff through their training exercise that we, the people, had been declared the enemy of the state. And it was interesting because that was about the time they stopped calling automobiles and cars and started calling them motor vehicles. See, and you sheriffs and police officers know exactly what I'm talking about, because that's exactly what you're told, that citizens of this country are in fact the enemy. The FBI has declared in their Homeland Assessment, this was about 10, 15 years ago, they didn't count terrorists as the greatest threat to America. They listed sovereign citizens as the greatest threat to America. I know that for a fact. You want to know why the FBI is all over this collusion thing, when in fact they're the ones that have committed collusion? They're the ones that have aided and abetted the foreign enemy by promoting a fake dossier that the Democratic Party paid for. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. It's all over the news, and nobody's doing anything about it. Congress isn't doing anything about it. Anybody should walk up and slap that woman in jail. Any one of us. If I knew where she was, I'd go get her and arrest her. Citizen's arrest. Somebody send me her address. I'll go get her and throw her in jail. Right behind her, her husband. I challenge the United States Marshal to explain why Mr. Mueller is not behind bars. He has admitted to committing treason against this country under the authority of Rosenstein, Steinstein, whatever the hell his name is. And what have you fat-bellied bureaucrats done about it? Comey writes a book and admits that he's committed treason and perjury and every other crime that he admitted to in his book. Where is law enforcement going after them? Somebody want me to sign the paper, I will sign the paper to authorize getting him arrested. If anybody sees what I'm saying right now, cut this part out and send it to everybody. Mr. Mueller should be charged with treason. Same thing with Rosenstein and same thing with Comey. I filed a federal lawsuit against them for treason. The U.S. Marshal should act on that lawsuit and go pick them up for committing an act of treason and warring against the Constitution of the United States. Anyway, I'm sure I've gone over any kind of limits we were supposed to have. I don't even know if it's even being recorded.
Well, it was good. A lot of
Well,
people.
you brought in a few issues that, you know.
Well,
It's-
see, folks, this isn't scripted. You know, and you're listening to an old guy that's just ranting and raving, but that's because I spent 50 years, give or take.
Perhaps
Later-
next time we can pick up a topic and
Yeah.
just discuss. a
Well,
little bit more.
that's what happens when
Or-
you leave me with an open
or
mind.
an open discussion.
No.
You know what I mean?
This is great, though. This is
Yeah, it's
great.
good.
If anybody wants to
Join the chat.
join the challenge, be my guest. Anybody wants to send me a document, to sign for the arrest of Mr. Mueller, I'll be more than happy. You tell me where he is, I'll go get him.
Let's find out where Comey's at because we tried to.
Well, yeah, Comey. There's somebody that's running around.
We tried to deliver some documents to him and couldn't find his address. So if anybody knows,
Well, we
his
did
address,
find a place that he is supposed
Yeah.
to be living, but of course,
That's
because
correct.
his son is living there, they said, "Oh no, he's not living here. That's just a son,"
and,
which
and-
I think is a crock of crap.
and his-
We actually talked to
Yeah.
the kid on the phone.
yeah, I called the number that was. I did a background check and got the number and the address associated to the number. Called it and I asked, "Is this the former FBI director James Comey?" He said, "No, this is his son." I said, "Well, I would like you to know that there's been a lawsuit filed against him for treason, and I would like to send the documents to him. Do you know his address?" He said, "Oh, I don't have it on the fly, so." And then I was like, "All right, well, thank you for
But
your
that
time."
was the last known address.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went ahead and
And
sent
that
to
was
that
it.
address. You know, but the point being is, there is a federal lawsuit criminally charging and civil charges for treason against Mueller and Rosenstein, and they have been served. They know damn good and well that it's been done. We've verified service. We've got the signed cards back from the U.S. Postal Service.
I served the documents. I signed for them, so I can tell you, I was part of this too. I assisted in this. He didn't do it on his own because that would be the wrong thing to do. So somebody had to help serve. So we did it. We served it. We made the petitions on change.org. We're gonna do them on whitehouse.org. If you want to catch me on social media, go on Google and look up my name. Look up my screen name, decoy_38. You're gonna see all my accounts there. I got Twitter. I got Gab. I got Minds. I got a bunch of stuff. So go on there, Instagram. You'll find me decoy_38. Join the fight. Let's promote this. Let's get the word out. Let's join up because they're trying to silence us on Twitter and it's getting stupid already. They're silencing Roseanne. They canceled her show because of the
Or
way she
conservative
talks.
views.
Yeah, and she's not even that conservative. If you actually watch the show, she sides with both sides. I mean, her daughter on the show has a son who dresses like a girl. And then her sister's a raging liberal who comes in on the first episode wearing a pussy hat. And guess what? They're all in harmony. But people don't want that. These people, they don't want us to be united. They keep talking about the red wave, the blue wave, and all that stuff, and the divisive politics. Why not a purple wave? Why don't we unite? Why don't we work together? Forget what we think about liberals because I don't agree with a lot of stuff they say. I don't lean toward any conservative or liberal points of view, but it just so happens that conservatives are making a lot of sense. Liberals, I urge you to find me one liberal that can make very valid points. They talk about Trump is a piece of crap, this and that. Okay, explain to me how he's running this country, because everyone says he's running this country, pussy grabber and chief and all that. That's all you guys ever have to say. Give me some facts. They don't do that.
They don't
So
have that.
rather than trying to excavate for facts, why don't we just all work together? Forget this divisiveness. Work as one unit. Forget red and blue. Stop being so divisive. Let's work together. Let's do this.
For the common good. The reason that they want to keep us apart is very simple. Divide and conquer. That's very simple. Divide and conquer. It's been a strategy for how many millennia?
That's why we do Black Lives Matter.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Black Lives
But-
Matter is funded by Soros.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what
Wait,
really.
wait. They
That's what
forgot
really crazy.
Blue Lives Matter, yellow lives matter,
All lives matter.
orange, all these colors matter. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's stupid already.
I don't know, but in when I was under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, we kind of thought all lives matter,
Oh, yeah.
especially innocent lives.
I mean, if you look in this room, you got a white guy, you got a Cuban dude, you got a Mexican, you got another Mexican guy. I mean, we're diverse. We're not, you know, we gotta work together. Stop the divisiveness. Stop fighting.
I never have understood that part. I don't understand what part. See this? This is a white sock. That's white. This is not white. So I don't understand that. I didn't see the sock. That's a sock. Okay? That's white. So what is this white crap? I'm not white. That's my color. You see right.
Yeah, we're the same color. Look.
How about that?
And I'm
You got-
Cuban.
You got to get some hair.
Yeah, I got a bunch of hair, man.
You stop and think about that. That's tribalism. I mean, really, we're in the 21st century, right?
Well, technically, there's only two races: red, black, and yellow. When you die and you go to the morgue, you're classified as one of the three, not all these multicolors.
Well, then we got this whole gender thing.
Yeah.
You know, let's
Yeah, let's not.
because we'll be here for another 5
Yeah,
hours.
and then they're gonna
But
bag
the
on
point,
us for that.
the point being is really, at what point did we lose the ability to think? We're at the 21st century, and we're still wandering around like Neanderthals. Oh, you're Asian, or you're black, or you're Cuban, or you're Mexican. Excuse me. Let me ask you a question. If somebody's laying on the operating table and needs a heart, does it matter what the skin color is of the donor that donates that heart? No. It only matters the blood type and a couple of other things. So let me get this straight. I, as a Caucasian guy, whatever the hell that is, I could get a lung or a kidney from a guy that has much darker skin than I do. It still works, right? Or I could get a lung or a kidney from a woman. Or, other way around, I could donate a kidney to a woman, which would probably be okay. Liver, I could do that. I mean, body parts seem to be interchangeable regardless of what the skin color is or the ethnicity is. Why? Because we're all the same damn machine. We were all created the same damn way. We all have blood flowing in our veins. We are all sentient beings. Somebody actually has to grow a brain and figure that part out. As I said a minute ago, or probably many minutes ago, I've held men in my arms as they died. And it didn't matter the color of their skin. It didn't matter their ethnicity. All that mattered is they were shedding their blood for you. What a bad idea that was. You're not paying attention. You deserve the government you've got because you allowed it to get this way. And now you got this old guy standing up for all of you that are too damn lazy to get off your fat ass and go out and do something. Pick up the Constitution and read it. Pick up your ass up off the couch and take a stand. Literally. And a simple stand. Just say no. This upcoming election, if they're Democrat, do not vote for them. Because the Democrats have proven that they damn sure do not want the United States to succeed. They don't give a damn about you. And all of those of you that are of color, if you can't figure out that they've been committing an act of genocide against you for decades, and the only time they give a damn about you is when it comes time to vote, and you don't get it, but you're not going to listen to me because, after all, I'm a white guy.
Yeah, they'd rather listen to Kanye West and all those other crap.
Even No, he's an idiot. He makes good points, but
I mean, seriously, how can you explain a 0.2% drop in population over 45 years? You mean to tell me that in 45 years, the African American population didn't have enough children to even get to maintain the 12.8% they had in 1960s? Really? What is that, folks? And what are you doing? You're out running around voting Democrat. Don't talk about anything that makes any sense. There is a saying in the Bible, I know most of you don't probably care about that part. There's a saying that says, don't worry about the splinter in your brother's eye, take the log out of your own. The meaning of that is, before you worry about cleaning up somebody else's mess, why don't you try cleaning up your own mess?
it's a lot bigger apparently. A lot compared to a splinter.
Okay? So, round it up and to come to the conclusion. Those that are wearing a uniform, you took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. How about going out and reading the damn thing? That might be a plus.
That's a good challenge.
Those of you that are carrying a gun and a badge, pretending you're law enforcement, how about you actually upholding the law?
The real law. Common law.
The common law of the Constitution that you swore an oath to protect. How about that for a change? That might be an interesting job change. And U.S. Marshals, how about you doing your job instead of just sitting around eating donuts and getting fat guarding federal buildings? You have somebody that has admitted in public testimony that they have committed an act of treason against the United States. Go out and arrest them. Or are you part of the problem as well? Congress, if I were you, I'd start packing. Because you're done. Actually, truth of the matter is, Congress isn't even in session. Congress has not been in session since the 1860s when the South left. The only reason Congress was able to reconvene was under executive order, and there's under the executive order issued by Lincoln ever since. Congress was never reinstated. That's a matter of history. That's a matter of fact. Now, you'll get those that are in the deep state corporation that say, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, of course they'll say that. What's this? Yeah, thank you. April 8th, 1865, the 13th Amendment banning slavery passed by the U.S. Senate. 100% Republican supported, 63% Democrat opposition.
Would you look at that?
How about that? There it is.
At that. Look
Can
at
you
that.
look at that?
Right there. That's beautiful. Exactly.
Can you see that?
Close it up a little more.
There you go.
There it is. Up.
There you go. For those that say that the Democrats weren't for slavery, guess what? They were. They obviously were. And some people say, well, where's the source?
Well, the Democrats
Look
are
it
for
up.
slavery today.
Yeah.
Who are the ones pushing all of these laws? Anybody that's still a Democrat, after all the crap that's been dug up about Democrats, really? You really are stupid. And yes, I said stupid.
Now, some people are going to say, well, where's the source? I guarantee you, if you look it up, it's going to be on there because I've read similar things like that. And so, you don't want to believe it, do your own research instead of just talking people down, because that's what everybody does now. They like to talk people down. They don't come at you with any real research or any real facts. Trump is an idiot. Yeah, how? Trump is ruining this country. How? Explain to me. You don't. You can't. Facts. That's all I want. I'm not being biased. I'm not saying you're stupid. Give me reason. Give me facts. They can't do that now. People don't want to debate. They really don't. If they wanted to debate, they would have a conversation. They would understand difference of opinion and share their thoughts with you. But they can't do that. People don't engage in conversation. They don't like to do that. Something happened somewhere along the way where they don't use critical thinking, logic, or reason, and they don't know how to debate. They say they do, but when it comes down to it, they don't even want to talk. That's not debating. That's a one-sided conversation. That's a monologue. It's not a dialogue.
Well, I don't know. It's we are on life support. This country is on life support. And that's primarily because nobody's paying attention. If those of us that took an oath to defend the Constitution don't defend the Constitution, then whose fault is it? The sheriffs that are driving around in the squad cars, roaming around trying to find people breaking the law. They're worried about people going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. Guess what? That's not the criminal. Real criminal is the one sitting in the governor's mansion. There's another one. Boy, I wish. Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown, you were an idiot in the 70s. You just about bankrupted state of California in the 70s. And you're still just as big an idiot. You want to talk about seceding from the Union. Guess what, stupid? You can't secede from the Union because that would be denying the American citizen their citizenship. They don't get American citizenship from the state of California. They get American citizenship from the nation, the Union of the United States of America.
The Republic
Dummy.
of California.
They only reside in the lesser territory or state or Republic of California. Never mind the fact that you are not a representative of the Republic. You are nothing more than a CEO of a corporation that is unlawful to begin with.
Yeah, he's operating under the Act of 1871.
Exactly. Well, no. In California, there are two constitutions. In every state, there are two constitutions. Every state. You have the Constitution for when they became a republic, and then somewhere along the line, there's a Constitution where they changed from being a republic to being a corporation. That all happened right about the same time. And that was all
we don't
because...
just have 52
They're
states.
on
We have
cahoots nonetheless,
104.
Well, yeah, that's it. So here's the deal. 1849, the Republic of California was born. 1879, the Corporation of California was born. Look it up. And then the real funny part is the flag of California says California Republic. Right?
Clearly.
Every judge, I should say, let me correct that, every alleged judge for every county, state, judge here, city, any municipality in California are all in violation of their oath of office. You walk into a courtroom, the first question you should ask the judge is, where's your signed oath of office? I demand to see it. Any public official, where's their signed oath of office? If they don't have a signed oath of office, they're not in office. And that signed oath of office is a declaration to uphold the Constitution of the United States, because that's the law of the land, and it's common law, not statutory law. So every judge that sits on the bench and tries to administer color of law is nothing more than an administrative hearings officer for the corporation. They have no standing at law. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. That's Supreme Court rulings. Look it up. This next document that I'm filing tomorrow will be published tomorrow. Everything in it documents step by step by step every law that every judge in this country violates their oath of office to uphold the Constitution. And it's about time that the American people start figuring that part out. And if the sheriff's sitting in the court and watching that judge do that, he should turn around and arrest the judge for being an imposter. Just because they put a robe on doesn't mean they have any authority. Never mind the fact that we, the people, are the ones that establish the jurisdiction in the court in the first place. We're the ones that give them jurisdiction. They have no jurisdiction without our consent.
If you guys want to know more about that document, hopefully we'll have it online by tomorrow. I'll be posting it. Again, my social media accounts, decoy_38. That's DECOY_38. You can catch me on Twitter. You can catch me on Minds. You can catch me on Gab. You can catch me on Instagram. You can catch me on Buddy List.
I got you.
There's a bunch of them. So go on
And yes,
Google.
I wear rings.
Go on Google, look at my screen name. You're going to see all the accounts I have, which is great because I'm on Google. Wow, that's huge. And it's first on the list. Like the first 10 hits, decoy_38, you'll see all my accounts right there. So look it up. You'll get to see that document published. It's really big because it pretty much explains how these judges don't have any jurisdiction. It pretty much strips them of their power. You guys don't realize how big this is. If you send this document in a letter from you to your officials, your political people, whoever is in charge, the governor, whatever, mayor, send that to them. Send this same document to them. It'll take apart the whole system. It's going to strip them of the false jurisdiction they claim they have over us, the fraud they've committed on us. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
know.
I think we should wrap this up as well. How many hours have we been at this?
It's been like 2.
2 hours. Okay. For those of you that had the balls to stay with us, congratulations. For those of you that think I'm a raving lunatic, God bless you.
Oh, look at this headline. It says, Rod Rosenstein's wife, Lisa Barsumian, exposed as long-term Clinton attorney. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, by the way, just for you folks that think that we might be racist and whatnot, just keep one thing in mind. Obama versus Keyes. The Illinois Republican State Central Committee chose former diplomat Alan Keyes to replace Ryan as the Republican candidate.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now, for all you that are African Americans in this country, just, understand one thing. You voted for a president that was biracial, number one. Number two is a very ungodly man. Okay? So, who was the best choice at that time? Alan Keyes. Look at the video. Obama versus Alan Keyes. There's videos on YouTube. Look at the debate that they had among themselves. And you decide who would have been the best president. Seriously. The country would have not gone backwards. It would have gone forward. Trump, all he would have done is just added on to the progress that Alan Keyes would have done. And as a matter of fact, Alan Keyes, whenever he wanted to attend meetings, political meetings, whatever, he was always ousted simply because the man stood for what was right. A moral, good man with good convictions, and the fact that he invoked God in his lifestyle, and he had
But you
the
can't
right
have that.
but the bottom line is, they can't have that because it's a very secular country.
Yeah, well, we've gotten to the point where we want to abandon God. And unfortunately, God was part of why we came into existence.
I Pledge of Allegiance too.
But, well, not only that, but how about the fact that we, if you understand history, there's only been 2 nations in the history of mankind that They've established themselves under the authority of God, and we're the second one. I won't go into the first one because there's probably those of you
Leave
out
that for
there-
the next segment.
Yeah, leave that for the next.
Yeah.
But the
Next
point,
episode.
The point is that you don't like the way things are going. It's up to you to fix them. I'm doing everything I can. I'm available to anybody that wants to have a conversation. I got to believe there's more than me. But guess what? If I'm the only one there is, so be it. Because I'm willing to stand for all of you. Who are you going to stand for? If you don't stand for something, then the bottom line is you don't stand for nothing. So if we move forward, that's your choice. For me and my house, we follow God, and I follow and protect and defend the Constitution of this great nation. If it's not important to you, so be it. You're going to get what you got coming. God bless.
One last thing. Keep one thing in mind. We're the only country on the planet that was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. If you don't like that, leave the country. Because if it wasn't for us, if it wasn't for Judeo-Christian principles, not that they're followed, however, they were laid out for us. Ten Commandments, and so on and so forth. If you don't like it, leave the country.
Go
Go to a Muslim country where if you're for example, for all you kind gay people, if you don't like it, go to the Saudi Arabia or somewhere, the Middle East.
See how
They'll
long you last there.
they'll put a bag on your head and they'll take you to the highest floors and then toss you out. There's videos.
Yeah.
You know.
For all of you promoting, all you women promoting, standing against the Republican thing or the country or all that stuff. Go take your opinions and go to some of these other countries and find out how well that
Yeah,
lasts.
see how women have rights over there.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, it's not to say that we dislike, gays and people of color thing. No, it's not that. Learn the facts. Learn the facts for the way they are.
Yeah.
There's
Anyway,
one last religious statement. There's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof is death.
okay.
Have a good
With
night,
that,
bro.
God bless.
Stay tuned.